Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Better Humans. Today I've got the unique honor and privilege of bringing on Logan Lewis. You may have seen him other places in, the internet and the World Wide Web. He's got, a really great web design agency. He's really got a really great podcast himself, which we're absolutely going to plug on here. So you guys can go listen to some of the stuff that he's got going on. He's local to me. He's probably like 20 minutes out, and we actually met up for coffee previously. And I got to learn so much about him and who he is, what makes him tick, what makes him special, what he's currently struggling with, and how he's overcoming it. And I was so excited to bring him on. And we've had to, reschedule a couple times, but now we're finally here and we're finally getting it done. So I'm so excited. Logan, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Jimmy, great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And no, we talked the other day about how life gets crazy and sometimes you have to move some things around and that's quite all right. I mean, and you've got a family. I don't have that quite yet. So I mean, I can't even imagine the extra stress and strain that can put on a schedule sometimes. So no worries. Glad to be here. Can't wait to chat.
It's not so bad. They only take over your entire life. It's fine.
They
Yeah.
only change everything about everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't like well, sometimes it's the truth. And the reality is that, like, yeah, they took over your entire life. But I don't like to use that as a crutch, like, as often as I can avoid it. If it's like, oh, we didn't sleep, so I don't know if I really want to go to the gym. Well, guess what? You still got to walk. You still got to move. I didn't, the kids are having a rough time and I don't know if I can work on this stuff. It's like, nope, you can be a good parent and get the work done too. Figure it out. And, it's tough, but that's just some like core philosophies that I that I hold because like they're not meant to like uproot and detract from your life. They're meant to um, enhance your life and your joy, right? So, like from a biblical belief that I believe that they're my joy, and every single day I look at them like you guys are my joy. So, yeah, man. Well, on Better Humans, our entire job here is to talk about entrepreneurship, talk about personal development, talk about our businesses and how we're reaching out and helping others, how we're affecting their lives through positive change and impact. Bringing that back in, how we're personally developing ourselves, how we're going through struggles through needing to build businesses, build offers, deploy platforms, you name it, right? It's extremely tough, and so that's the entire goal here is just to shine a light, expose kind of like what's going on inside of us, how we're going out and, and changing the lives of others positively on a micro, like how you go one to one, on a macro, how you have an audience and you're positively benefiting and impacting benefacting. That's a word.
That is.
Positively benefiting and impacting others. So welcome everybody to Better Humans, and I want to get into it. The very first place that I actually want to start today, and I feel like it's the easiest kind of spot to segue into, is kind of your like larger scale impact with your podcasting. I want to hear about the history, how you even got into it, because it takes a special somebody to go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk into a microphone and I might invite others and I'm going to publish it out to the world. I have no idea if anyone's going to listen to it. I have no idea if it's going to help. I won't know if it's going to help in the podcasting medium, especially months or even years down the line. And I'll do it, I don't know, like 400 times or something like that. Tell me, tell me about how your podcast is going and your hundreds of episodes. And yeah, how is all that?
Yeah, man. It's my podcast origin story is I got in before it was cool this summer. We're recording this early 2026. This summer will be 8 years of doing it. I got in before it was cool. I got in right after kind of like Barstool Sports really got on board with it and started publishing like dozens of shows by all their different employees and influencers and stuff. But anyway, like, so one of my buddies in college sent me a link to one of the Barstool Sports shows, and he just said, "Hey, listen to this podcast." And I was like, "A podcast?" At that point, I was like, "A podcast is like Rush Limbaugh, like NPR podcast." I was like, why are you sending me this? I feel like I should send this to my grandparents. And he was like, no, I know what I know that podcast has that like radio, old school, like feeling to it, but just listen to it. These guys are awesome. And so I listened to it and I got hooked immediately. I was like, whoa, these dudes are, and these guys, they weren't doing shows like you and me do where they, sit down and chat with cool people. They were just shooting the what around the office. And of course, it just all fed into that Barstool Sports ecosystem. But as soon as I listened to it, I binged it. I was hooked. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that I wanted something so bad until I listened to theirs. And so that following weekend, when I wasn't in class or working, I went to Best Buy, bought a microphone, and started recording that day. Didn't have a plan, didn't have a vision, didn't have a goal, just wanted to do it. I was like, these dudes are having fun. I want to have fun too. And, I was working full time. I was nearing the end of college, I think, or maybe a couple years before college ended, but I wasn't happy with what I was doing in school, but I just decided to push through, get the degree, and figure it out later. And I have done that, but all while working all these odd end jobs over the course of the last few years, I've always had my podcast. And that was my thing, was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get off work so that I could go home and work on the podcast. And so it's just kind of been this thing that's evolved over time. It started out called Hold On to Your Butts, and it was a movie recap podcast. That's a line from my favorite movie, which is Jurassic Park. So it was a movie recap podcast where I would go to the theaters, see a movie that just came out, and talk about it. And I did that by myself for a while. And then I invited a couple other friends to do it. And for a couple years, it was me and two other buddies. And we rebranded eventually and called ourselves the Binge Boys, because we binged content all the time: TV, movies, music, video games. I mean, the whole pop culture of everything. So we did that for several years. And then COVID hit. And we were recording in person, and we were having the best time doing that. And we went virtual, and we struggled with, the whole virtual podcasting dilemma that sometimes happens with technical difficulties and internet connections. And it just wasn't working like it should have been. And so those two decided to step away because both of them had started pursuing different things in their careers, and one of them was starting a family. And so those two decided to separate. So I took some time away, some time, like a month, because I can't stop doing this. Took a month away and really thought about like what do I love to listen to? I love listening to my favorite comedians and celebrities interview other comedians and celebrities like Conan O'Brien, Joe Rogan, Theo Von, Tom Segura. All of these comics that have their own shows, they do the same thing. I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to get the Theo Vons or the Joe Rogans or the Tom Seguras on my show yet, but I could talk to local people, and I could talk to the cool people that run the popular bar and grill up the street, or the popular maybe the state representative if I'm lucky, or maybe the mayor of the town that I live in. Local people doing cool things. And so I rebranded the show, called it Your Morning Drive, and it's been that ever since. And yeah, approaching here this next week we'll upload episode 470. So we're rapidly approaching 500. We'll hit 500 some point this summer.
That's so crazy.
But it's just a ton of fun, dude. I mean, I just love doing what we're doing right now, just chatting one-on-one, because you never know what you and I might say that could inspire someone else.
Yeah.
And we talked about that a couple days ago with the whole walking premise that I'm doing this year. And so you just never know what kind of impact you can have on someone. And that's not why I'm doing it per se. I truly just love being in front of a microphone. And if I hear that I inspire, and if I make millions along the way, that's awesome. But I truly, like, if I never made any money from it, I'm going to do this until either the day I die or the day that my wife tells me I have to stop. And even then, I'm going to fight back pretty hard.
Okay, I have two questions from that. The first one is from your 469 other. Sorry, did you say you were recording 470 or you're publishing 470?
I will be publishing 470.
Okay, so from your 470 episodes, is there one that stands out that is like it's either your favorite or it was so unique or so impactful that like you it just sits there as like your favorite or like holds space in your mind?
Wow, that's a great question. There's been so many good ones, man. And that's not even just because it's my baby. It's just there's been conversations that I've gotten up and walked away from them and been like, "Wow, dude, like talk about an inspiration." Like I've cried on some of my episodes just we've laughed, we've cried. Like I'm an emotional dude, so if someone hits me and it tugs on the heartstrings, I mean, I'm not afraid to show that emotion. But I gotta pull my show up because I just gotta scroll through and look because I've done so many really cool episodes, man, with some really cool people. I mean, well, so we said I'm uploading 470, but I've actually recorded up to 480. I've got so many in the tank just waiting to publish. And actually
Okay.
episode 480, the most recent one I've done, is powerful, man. It's a man who struggled with being an addict for about 15 years, not just any kind of a meth addict,
Mm-hmm.
in and out of rehab and in jail. And now this man runs a nonprofit out here in my neck of the woods in Cartersville. And you know, he helps people in recovery get out of fight their addictions and get back to society as a productive member of society. And he does great work. And I mean, his story, man, is just so incredible. I can't wait to publish it. It's one of those ones where I was like, damn, I kind of want to skip the line and just publish his now. But
Well, that's the
truly amazing.
perks of owning the show, right? Like you can.
Yeah. Got to be
Unless
fair
you were
to
like, "Welcome back to episode 480," someone would be like, "Wait, wasn't I just on 472?" Like, anyway,
well, funny
um,
enough, I actually probably about a year ago, I guess, I stopped saying what episode number it was at the top for that reason. Um, but I mean, the people that I've recorded before him, even like I've just been so lucky to get them. Like I just mentioned the mayor of the city that I live in. I got to record with him. That comes out in a couple weeks. The president of my local chamber of commerce, I got to talk to her. That comes out a couple weeks later. So I mean, I've got some great ones in the hopper for 2026. And that one sticks out. I mean, I've had a lot of great stories, but that one really, um, it's talk about inspiring. It's truly inspiring, and
mhm.
man, I just love it. It's great, man.
Okay. All right. Good. So my other question is, do you consider yourself to be an obsessive person? Not like to the point of having a disorder per se, but like I've heard you use words like I will always or I can't stop or like I'm just gonna do like, when it
Yeah,
comes to this and something that I would argue is probably like if you did it for 8 years, it probably fuels you in some capacity. You get some sort of fulfillment with it. Like, do you consider yourself someone who's obsessive?
absolutely, absolutely. I don't think I have it like an addictive personality. I don't think I have that, but I'm a very like I do think about often like because I'm so close to 500 and I've just been doing a lot of reflecting lately and I sometimes picture my life without the podcast, without this setup behind me, without that volume of episodes that I have. I, true to God, Jimmy, I don't think I would be in a position where I get to work for myself if it weren't for this podcast.
Yeah, it's
And
leverage.
it's leverage, it establishes, credibility. But at the same time, like I've gotten to, of course, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but like being able to offer small businesses and other creatives and just other people marketing services. Well, a lot of those people have come from the podcast, and that wasn't the intention. It just worked out that way. Like I don't want to call it a lead generator, but in some kind of capacity, it is because
Yeah.
I have a company and it's called Hammerhead Creations, and Hammerhead is responsible for, of course, the podcast, but also the marketing stuff. But a lot of the guests don't know that I have this thing called Hammerhead Creations. So what I
And they don't
do is
need
every
to, because that's
episode,
not the point, right? Like the
right?
point is the discussion, and then it's the discovery of those things. And by the way, really fast, I realized that I introduced your business as just a web design agency, for completely forgetting that you also do content, you do marketing. So there's a bit more uh, involved there than I actually had brought up. So I apologize, and just for everyone listening, that there's more to Logan than meets the eye. you know.
No, yeah, no, I don't think anything of it, dude. No need to apologize. But um, it just so every episode that I'm recording with these people, I read an ad in person in front of them for Hammerhead Creations, and I say things like they offer this and they offer that, and more often than not, I'd say maybe 75% of the time at the end of the episode, after the mics are off, they'll be like, "Who is that Hammerhead Creations company? That's cool that you work with a digital marketing company." And I'm like, "Well, it's actually me." And so then I just spent 2 hours getting to know somebody, earning their trust, hearing their story. And then at the end of it, they're like, "Oh my God, he could also help me amplify my
Yeah.
message, spread it out as many platforms as possible." And so it's just kind of worked out that way. And also, I guess with the podcast, like I'm obsessed with it because it's just, I don't know, man. Some people go golfing every weekend. Some people watch sports until the day is done. I mean, some people go to breweries every Saturday. Everybody's got their thing. This is just my thing. And
Yeah.
I'm a bad golfer. If I was a great golfer, maybe I wouldn't have a podcast, but I'm a horrible golfer. So, I just show up for the booze and the guy time. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. So,
Really,
I
that's about what I'm good for on a golf course too. I think I've golfed 4 times in my life, and every single time it's the buddies, it's a couple of drinks, and slapping the ball as hard as you can off the tee, and then
absolutely
I don't know where it went.
right. And yeah, so yeah, to answer your question without the ramble, I would say I'm obsessive over it, but I don't think I'm obsessive over really anything else. My wife is listening and she'll probably text me and disagree, but I, yeah, this thing fuels me, man. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't be the same Logan.
Interesting. Okay. I love, and I don't think of being obsessive as always being like a derogatory term. Sometimes it's obsession is like a characteristic of someone who's passionate, someone who will like suffer for long periods of time through something in order to like see a result through the end. um, so yeah, like I was just curious about that. And I think I knew the answer. I just wanted to kind of like talk through it a little bit. But cool, man. All right, I have something else that I wanted to talk about briefly, and that was you had kind of mentioned it a little bit. Because you and I had been talking pretty recently. We were just on the phone the other day, and you brought up this new habit that you have since December of last year. And I want to talk about it because I believe actually that this daily habit that you have is something that's extremely powerful, and it's not necessarily like a 1% better every day type of thing, but it's in my opinion it's more like a daily inputs. Like if you just started stacking a book after book after book after book, it would be like, man, I read 300 something books this year. How much more knowledge do I have? How much more like leverage and information and confidence and certainty do I have? In the same way, like I think that you're getting absolutely stellar, fantastic results in your health by stacking this daily habit. And so I want to like tell the listeners what you got going on since last December and how it's been impacting you.
Yeah, man. So I to give them a little bit of a backstory and build it up a little bit more. I was listening to a podcast over kind of the holidays, and it was between Joe Rogan and Jelly Roll, and I'm interested in Jelly Roll. I like his music. He's from the same town that my wife is from, so I take interest in stuff that he does. So I listened to it. And of course, we all know if we're on social media, one way or the other, we've all seen this wild transformation that Jelly Roll has gone from 515 pounds to about 250 in the last couple years. He's lost a ton of weight. And Joe was fascinated by this because, you know, Joe's an MMA guy, he's a fitness guy. So he was just asking all these questions. And of course, when you're in that position to have seemingly unlimited funds, of course, you can afford to pay for the GLP-1s and the weight loss medication and the physical trainers. But he said, Joe, before I did any of that, I started by walking 1 mile a day. And he said, and then eventually, after about 6 months, I got up to 2 miles a day. And then I dropped it back to 1 mile. And I ran a mile a day. And then I ran 2 miles a day, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles a day. And he said, but I started with the one because the 1 mile a day, he said, even at his heaviest, maximum took him 30 minutes. And I was like, well, I'm not 500 pounds. I could probably walk a mile in 15 minutes. I mean, I don't know. So I tried it. So I got out one day and just walked a mile, and it took about 18 minutes, 19 minutes. And so I was like, okay, that's it. Okay. Well, if Jelly Roll can lose 300 pounds, you know, I could lose 50. And in December, I'd weighed the heaviest I ever have. I was sitting right at 280. And I thought it was the kind of number that when you go for your annual checkup or end of the year checkup at the doctor, you get on the scale and you say, holy shit, like to yourself, you know, like, wow, talk about a number I thought I'd never see. So I just took that, combined it with that podcast I listened to, the mile that I walked in experimentation, and just thought, okay, I know it's cheesy to start things on the first of the year. So technically, I actually think I started it on like the 4th of the year. But every day since the first of the year, essentially, I have walked a mile a day. And whether it's snow, sleet, hail, or rain, I've gotten out there and I've done it. You know, we went through in Georgia a month ago, I guess at this point, the potential second coming of Snowmageddon, at least by me. I don't know about you, Jimmy, but I got light snow and a bit of ice, and that's it. But even in that weather, I got out and walked my mile, and it was freezing ass cold, and it was 20 degrees, but it said feels like -5 because it was so cold and so windy. But I was out there with 3 layers on and a beanie and a hat and a hood, and
good for you.
Because at this point, man, I can't not do it. And I'm looking outside right now and it's rainy and gross today, but I know that after this podcast, I'm getting out there and I'm changing clothes and I'm going to go walk. And it's
told you, obsessive.
Well,
in a good way.
In a good way. In the best way, because, and I've almost kind of inspired myself because I always thought it was so cheesy when people would say, oh, it takes a week to make a habit and then you're good. I was like, bullshit. Sorry if I can't cuss on here. You can edit those out.
No, but do whatever. It's all good.
I always said, like, that's a crock of crap. Like, that's not true. Yada, yada, yada. Well, it's true. After about doing it for 9 or 10 days, I was like, well, I can't not do it. And I've held myself accountable by screenshotting my Apple Watch workout every day, posting it on Instagram story. And after a few days, people were like, great, good for you. This is awesome. And now after it's been almost 2 months of this, people, if they don't by like 3 or 4 in the afternoon see my screenshot, they're like, where's your walk? And I've bumped into old coworkers, old friends, family members, and they're just like, you've inspired me to walk. And I'm like, man, talk about like wanting to shed a tear just on the spot, because it's like, dude, I'd never set out to do that for anyone else.
Yeah.
But the fact that me holding myself accountable on social media has inspired others to do the same is so cool. And yeah, I'm obsessed with doing it now. I can't not do it. I mean, we just spent a week in Aruba on vacation with our family. Went to Aruba. I walked every single morning. I got up, and before we went to the buffet to get breakfast at our resort or the beach or the pool, I went up, me and my wife got up and we walked, and it was
That's
amazing.
probably the easiest place to walk, in my opinion. Who doesn't want to take a morning walk on the beach? Or you can like that. Oh, I had to wake up every morning and go walk on this beautiful sunrise in Aruba.
I know, right? And and it was very depressing, Jimmy, coming back from Aruba and being greeted with overcast, rain, and it's still 40 degrees outside. So I was like, damn, I
Yep.
really got used to doing my walk in those Nike shorts, but I guess I got to put the sweatpants or the joggers back on.
You actually just reminded me. So my wife and I, after our first year of marriage, it was time for us to either renew the lease at the apartment that we had moved into or figure out somewhere else to live. And in our first year of marriage, we had bought down all our debt. We owned everything. We owned our cars. We didn't have any car payments. So we were like, what if we went to go travel? And we looked through and through. I was looking everywhere. I was like, you know what actually is kind of like the easiest place for us to get out to, but then back out of, so that like if it sucks and we hate it, it's not a big deal. It was actually Puerto Rico. And so in 2021, height of COVID, we moved down to Puerto Rico. And all the other details is a story for another time. But what you just reminded me actually was I would go for a couple miles of a walk every morning. And it was like, and it wasn't even for like health. I'm pretty sure I did it literally because I could. Because I had friends back home and I had like coworkers everywhere else that like this wasn't their reality, and I was like, this is my reality. Like I'm here, and so I'd go for a walk down the beach. I'd go down to the rocks on like Ocean Park Beach, San Juan. Walk back. There's like a pull up bar. I'd hit some pull ups on the way out. I'd hit some pull ups on the way back. But like 7:15 a.m. was like boom, go walk. And that was awesome. I lost so much weight down in Puerto Rico, not just because I was doing that, but like it's so hot. And like only my house had an air conditioner and everyone else just had generators like blowing fans and stuff. And I was, anyways. Um, yeah, I wanted to bring this habit up because I think that it's not just like in alignment with the like obsessive part that you had, but I really wanted to like let people know that like there are small contributions that you can make to your health, to your wealth, and to your relationships daily. And where will you be in a few months, 90 days, 6 months, or 1 year down the line? Like, if you find out what that like tiny, tiny little lever is and do it every single day, like, where will you be in that amount of time? So, dude, I'm excited for you. And by the way, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm also doing some health stuff for myself right now. So while you're looking at a scale going, oh my God, 280, for me, that number is 230. So I have on my app, I have to have my phone with me. I have on my app, weigh in was 234 1 week ago. And so I just started some health stuff. I am down about on average a pound a day. And doing walks, doing Muay Thai, doing some peptide injections, and all this stuff. And I've also been sober. Uh, you know how you were like, hey, January 4th, like I missed a few days at the beginning, but basically since the start of the year. So
Yeah.
I was at a work event and I was just getting over being sick, but it's like a whole like, we're at these little like like mini mansions and castles down in Florida outside of
Yeah.
Orlando. And I just had like a couple beers one night, a couple beers another night. But outside of that, I have been sober for a couple months now. So all this like chest inflammation and like all this like bloating, all this stuff is like out. Um, I'm not necessarily paying so much attention to the weight, but what I am explicitly watching is I've got this fancy little scale that it's probably not the most as accurate as like a hospital DEXA scan or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I'm watching the measurement of the subcutaneous fat and the visceral fat specifically, because what I'm trying to do is get that sub-Q and that visceral fat to trend downwards back into a healthy range. I don't know what unit of measure. Like maybe in post I might slap a little screenshot on here so everyone can kind of understand what I'm saying. Otherwise, it sounds very like obscure, abstract, or whatever. but there's like a range where like if you have visceral fat in the range of like 5 through 10, like you're probably pretty healthy. If it's like 10 through 13, you're like, hey, this is getting kind of dangerous. 13 through 15 is like, hey, make some life changes. And mine was at like 13, 14. Obviously, alcohol is a huge contributor to that. Sedentary lifestyle is a huge contributor to that. And I was like, I'm susceptible to like diseases at that point if I don't get that under control and make some changes. So like that's the entire goal is like kill the inflammation, kill the sub-Q fat, kill the visceral fat, and whatever happens with the weight and the muscle in between, cool. Odds are probably the weight's going to go down, probably the muscle's going to go up, but who cares, you know? But that's just some of the stuff that I'm going through. I didn't want to leave you hanging out there like, oh man, like Logan's being so vulnerable, but Jimmy's not meeting him where he's at.
No,
So
I love that you're
yeah,
doing that, man. And I never thought that I'd be like a guy that would be on a podcast talking about like health. Like I never I'm still not that guy. Like I'm not going to take this and think like, "Oh my god, I could be like a fitness influencer," cuz so many people they go for one walk and they're like, "Oh my god, I have a message I need to preach." And it's like I'm not trying to do that. I just am just truth be told, I'm just truly proud of myself because I've just been my own biggest critic and my own biggest enemy on this kind of health stuff. And I've taken the mile a day, and for the people listening, I've expanded on it a little by going like, okay, I'm going to do a mile a day, but I'm also going to use my phone less in bed. I'm going to read more, or I'm going
hmm
to drink 2 or 3 bottles of water a day, just as opposed to drinking soda or juice or something I don't need to drink. And so I've kind of gotten addicted to that. But if you want to talk about obsession, the true obsession behind this is every Sunday when I weigh myself, when I continue to see that number go down, that's the addiction. Is like, oh my
yeah,
God.
that's a dopamine marker for you. Yeah.
And for sure, like this week, I know, like I went to a networking thing on Monday night and, or maybe it was Tuesday night, whatever. And I had a couple, it was at a winery and I had a couple wine slushies and and there was probably a ton of sugar in those wine slushies. So I know damn well I might get on the scale and it might say I gained, it might say I'm still the same, or it might not say that I'm, at least 2, 3, 4 pounds down. So I don't want to say I beat myself up about those decisions now because that's not the right word to use, but I'm more conscious for sure. It's like, okay, well, I drank
You're
those
cognizant
wine
of them.
slushies on
Yeah.
Tuesday night. I'm not going to drink the rest of the week because now I like that was my fix per se. I'm not like saying that makes it sound like I'm an alcoholic, but I'm just saying like if I were to drink once a week, Monday was that day. So I've just gotten into the habit of
Yeah.
just taking health a little more seriously, and I can't wait to see where I am a year from now. I mean, from December 15th, let's just say, I think that's the day I made the decision. And I guess from January 4th, or whatever day you want to consider the official start date, because I did start doing like the water drinking and some of this stuff in December, and maybe a little bit of intermittent fasting. I'm down 30 pounds, 31 pounds since Christmas, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's the addiction. Is like talk about addiction is I'm putting on clothes that I haven't fit as comfortably in the past year or so. And like a shirt, we all have like a couple shirts in our closet where like that's the shirt I love to wear if I'm like going out with the wife, going out with the friends or whatever. I've not been able to fit into that shirt, and for the first time in 6 months I can fit in that shirt comfortably. And it's like that's the addiction, dude. Is like, oh,
Yeah.
so there's these shirts I've just been hanging on to because I don't want to donate them or get rid of them because it's like I love those shirts. And now I'm in a place where I can start wearing them again and talk about true happiness. That's that right there.
I found it really ironic that you said, I never thought that I'd be the guy on a podcast talking about health. And it's just really funny because where that brought me to was like when we first met up for coffee, I basically was like, oh, what have you been doing? Like, oh, I've been working at this. Like, what have I been doing? Like, well, I left my job and I, like went full time on business for myself. And what was your job? And I was like, have you heard of this software company called ClickFunnels? And you were like, duh, yes, like hello, right? Um, but we both bonded over this book right here, which is, I think, I won't call it Russell's like magnum opus, but for as in terms of like a leverage, a life changer, like a business builder, like for personal brand and expert specifically, this book Expert Secrets was like a catalyst that launched a million brands for people. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is like you're like, oh, I never thought I'd be the guy who's talking about health, but it's like you're just a step ahead of the last guy who was like in at your previous level of stuck. Where some dude's probably going to listen to this and be like, man, he's 280 and he had to make a change. I'm 290. I'm 2 inches shorter than Logan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right, sure.
he's gonna listen to this, or she, like whoever, and they're gonna be like, okay, well, Logan's right. And so like that's why we do this. That's why we're doing what we're doing right now, is literally because like that's for anyone who hasn't read these books, which by the way, go get these books from Russell. It's the Secrets trilogy. But Expert Secrets is like you are an expert be literally because there is somebody else out there in the world who just doesn't know as much as you. You might be one or two steps ahead of them. And he uses the what was the Leo DiCaprio movie, Catch Me If You Can, with based on a real life story of Frank Abagnale, who, I mean, tons like defrauded like government and agencies and universities and hospitals and all of that. But he was just like, you taught an entire semester on history at like whatever university. Like, how did you do that? Like, you don't even have a degree. And he was like, I just read one chapter ahead of everybody else, and like that makes him an expert, right? So like the fact that you're a few months ahead, you're walking like that makes you the expert.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about it is, I again, like, I just never thought I'd be that guy, and I'm happy that I'm that guy because I've never been more motivated to actually be better and more health conscious and all those things. So it's just been awesome, man. I can't wait to see where I'm at not only weight wise, but also just, I think you said this the other day when we were talking on the phone, but like going for those walks is also great for my mind. It's a great place to get away from the work computer, the screen, the iPad, whatever. It's a great place to just like, I guess, meditate in a weird way also. I mean, I guess I'm exercising and meditating at the same time because I'm really, and a lot of the times I don't even listen to music or a podcast. I just have headphones in as kind of as like the noise canceling thing. So I just have them in, and so I hear nothing going on, and so I'm just kind of at peace. It's really weird. I don't know why I started doing it that way, but it's been oddly really comforting, and I don't know. It's just been great for the dome to just separate from everything and have no stimulation, not even music, not even another podcast, and it's just really relaxing.
My wife gets on to me about that. Because I'll have some of these in,
Yeah.
and they'll just be in my ears and with noise canceling turned on, and she pulls it out and she like listens to it for a second. She's like, you're not even listening to anything. And I was like, I know. I need the stimulus to stop for a second so I can, I don't
Right.
know, exist. So
Yeah, it's like we live in this
definitely,
time
man.
where there's constant stimulation coming at us from all angles. And so sometimes you just need a damn break. It's tiring. Um, and that's
Yeah.
coming from a dude who works on the internet. It's tiring.
Yeah. Well, that I think that just makes you more susceptible to it. Like you're constantly advertised to,
Always.
constantly. Even with
Always.
just in your home, as my wife made me conscious to this, and it was that there are people, and they'll it's this most interesting thing because she'll show me the reels for it, but they'll take their like their kitchen cabinet, and it'll have all these products with like glass labels and glass jars, like even Like this has like ball,
Yeah.
like embeveled. I don't know what the word is. It's not engraved, but so it'll have like all the labels and everything on it, and then they like snap to the next photo, and it's like all the labels are off. And it's so crazy because like no one told you to feel more calm once all of the marketing and labels and stimulus has gone away. But it's as soon as all of that is gone, you go, like you can freaking breathe because you're not being bombarded with so much information that your brain has to constantly analyze and check and like verify, validate, fight or flight, safety, benefit, dopamine. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's exhausting. Every time you open a phone, open an email, open an app, you are being advertised something. And it just gets to the point where it's like enough. And again, this comes from a dude who does this for a living, but like sometimes we all need a break. Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah. Hey, sorry. I you were
Was there
cutting
a
out a
delay a
little
little?
bit. Yeah. I'm gonna let it go quiet for a second so I know that there's
Yeah.
a marker here to chop.
Cool.
All right. So, um, yeah, absolutely. And actually, I want that to be, I want that to be our segue into because I want to talk about Hammerhead. I actually didn't know the name of your brand and had to do a little bit of like sleuthing and digging because you're not so like outward about it, which I think is smart. It's smart in a way, right? Because it's like exactly what we were talking about with the podcast, where like you might sit down with somebody and it's not about your business. It's not about getting them as a lead. It's literally about connection, communication, relationship, things like that. And then they're like, "Oh, that's your business. Well, why? Like, we need to work together then, right?" So you're establishing that trust. And so I went and did some digging, and I was like, "Dang, like this brand is really cool. I think it's stellar. I'd love to hear just about like your experience because I know that you were working a job and like maybe you did a couple of things here and there. Like, dude, I get it. Like for 8 years, I like dabbled on the side of ClickFunnels because it's literally that's the entire culture. Is just like even if you have a 9 to 5, you're still hustling outside of it. You're still working with brands, with influencers, with companies, with startups, with entrepreneurs, whoever. You're just it's just what you do at ClickFunnels, and so I was pleased to hear that you had also been doing that. But like, tell me about how your agency got started and like kind of where you guys are at today.
Yeah, man. So agency started mainly because it started about 6 months after the podcast. Because, I knew nothing about the marketing world. I didn't go to school for it. I didn't take any courses on it. I didn't know anything about it. And so it got to the point where I was talking to somebody and they're like, "Do you advertise this podcast?" And I was like, "Oh, no, not really. I just kind of release it and hoped people found it." Sounds so stupid saying that out loud, but that's just where I was. And I was like, well, I guess I need to start to learn how to do this stuff. So I created a Facebook and an Instagram account for the podcast and just started trying to put stuff out there. And eventually, I don't want to say like I got crazy good at it, but I enjoyed doing that aspect of it too, because again, I'm promoting something that I love. So I didn't even really just say, "Oh man, I could do this for other people," until like a family friend came to me and said that they were starting a God, what was it? I think it was a podcast. Yeah, it was a podcast, and they're like, "And we want a website for it." And I was like, "Oh, I've never made a website before, but I need to make one for myself." So I don't think I charged them, and I just said, "Let me learn how to do this if you're not in a rush." And they're like, "No, we're not in a rush. We just want one." And I was like, "Okay. So let me learn how to do this so that I can do it for myself." And I didn't charge them, and I did it, and it was sloppy, and so I went back years later after I got good at it and remodeled it again. Didn't charge them for it because I was like, I owe this to you. And then I again just random happenstance. I mean, again, like the podcast, dude. Like the podcast has put me in just places and in conversations I never thought I'd be in, and like somebody hits me up from because I think, and you might relate to this, people who see people that are present online a lot just assume that they know how to do everything associated with the internet. And it's like, oh, well, you do a
Yep.
podcast, you build websites, like some random pizza place in Smyrna hit me up. And I was like, oh. And at the time I lived in Smyrna, and it literally was like a mile from my apartment where I lived. And so I was like, I've built websites. I don't want to say I'm a web designer because that would be insulting to actual web designers. But I was like, but I've built them before. And they're like, we need one bad. Our last guy who worked with us went rogue and we lost the domain, and we just need something up. Even if it's a landing page, and then you can work on the greater website in the back end, but we need something up ASAP. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so I did it for them, and then I did it for someone else, and then I did it for someone else, and I did it for someone else. And then some of these people needed help with social. Some people needed email marketing. Some people needed advice on where to start on some of this stuff. So it just kind of grew organically. And then I got a job at a small marketing agency in Lawrenceville area, and worked there for about a year. And I was able to refine those skills a little bit more and learn more of the back end of marketing. And that's where my boss at the time gave me that book by Russell and said, read this. On my first day, he was like, before you do anything, I don't care how long it takes you to read this book, even if it takes 6 months, read this book. And I read the book and was like, oh, I get it now. So that was immediately when we met. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you know these people, or at least know of the brand, or know the company. So cool. So I say all that to say it just kind of happened organically, and I've just done it on the side. You alluded to it. I've done it on the side from all these odd end jobs. I worked jobs in construction and IT and banking and customer success and all these different roles. And I've just been quietly building this on the side for 8 years. And last October, my full-time job and Hammerhead they weren't close to colliding, but they were like a plane barely missing another plane. Like it was getting a little close because I was getting a lot of work last year and I was getting really busy, and it was getting to the point where I was kind of close to blurring those lines, and my company laid off my entire department. And I like to say I quit my job because it sounds better, but they laid off my entire department. And instead of going and finding a new job, my wife was like, time to go all in. And I took that as a sign, literally because she said it out loud, but also because she's been the biggest, I don't want to say roadblock because that sounds negative, but she's been the biggest person in my life that's just like, you can't quit your job until you match the income. You cannot quit your job. I'd love for you to work for yourself, but you cannot quit your job until we know we're safe. And of course, understandable. Anyone would think that way. And I just said, well, I'm 60% there, but I'm not 100% there yet. And she said, okay, well, do you think with not having to report to anyone, for the ability to go network, for the ability to meet people for coffee, for the ability to have that freedom to dive into the current clients you have more, do you think that time would reflect, and then you would be able to match or at least get to 80 or 90% so that we weren't having to cut our lifestyle down? And I was like, I can do that. And she said, I'll give you 4 months. Go. And if you're at that 4 months, if you're at 60%, time to go find a job. And so I said, challenge accepted. And here we are, where October was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago, almost 6 months ago, here soon, coming up this spring. And we're not at 100%. Well, you know how the business is, Jimmy. Some months are 100%, some months are 80%, some months are 120%, some months are 50%. So, it all balances, but we're there. And, there was a month, it was last month was, or 2 months ago was the month I was able to match the full salary that I made in a month, even post tax, post expenses, post everything. I was able to pay myself what I made in my last full-time job. And she came to me, she said, "I'm so proud of you. I knew you could get there." And she said, "And just so you know, there was never going to be just 4 months because I knew you could do it. I was never going to make you go find another job." And I was like, "Damn." But she's like, "But I needed to light a fire under your ass." And I was like, "Well, thank you for doing that." And I heard that, and I feel like some people could take that and be like, "Oh, well, I could just coast because she never was really going to make me find a job." But I've taken that and been like, "Okay, well, now let's double it, or let's get to 150%. So that's the push, man, is I've just done this stuff organically on the side for years and just got to the place where I could make my own path and swim in my own reef. That's so cheesy. You might have to cut that. I've been trying to come up with little taglines I could say that kind of relate to like a
Swim in
hammerhead.
my, oh my gosh, with Hammerhead.
I've been trying so
I
hard.
didn't know what you.
Some of my puns, dude, are so bad, but I'm trying to figure out how to market them. Like for a while, my slogan was like, "If you work with me, then we'll be able to swim with the big sharks," or something like that. And so some people were like, "Oh, that's cool." So I'm trying to take that and move on it and do more with it. But it's just been cheese ever since. So I might just stick swim with the big sharks. But yeah, I've just been doing my best, and here we are. I've never been happier, dude. I've never, and you know this too, I've never worked harder in my entire life than I'm working right now. And here I thought I was pouring my heart and soul into these other companies that I worked for. Nah, dude, I have never worked as hard as I work today. And I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, give me 4 seconds. My dog is losing his mind
Go for it.
because he can't get inside of this door.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
have to, I have to handle that. Okay, I apologize. All right. So, dude, okay. So so many, I have so many things from that entire stint, because I also left a job, and I also am working harder than I ever have before. But like that, this kind of ties back to having like the kids thing, and I talking about like health and kids and work and passion and obsession and all that stuff. So like my second born was born June 5th, and we knew that it was going to be like early June was his due date. So from January of 2025 up to June, up to, but literally I was shutting the laptop as my wife was like ramping up labor. And she never lets me forget that. um, but I told myself that like I am going as hard as humanly possible. I forsook sleep, or forsook. I don't know what the word is.
I won't
I
judge you
threw
on it.
sleep out the window.
Yeah.
Also, we had another baby, so like I already wasn't sleeping anyways. I might as well work. I would wake up, get ready, take care of the kids, work, put the kid down to sleep, the eldest, and then get back to work, and then dinner time, bedtime, work, maybe sleep, wake up at 4 a.m., work, and I threw my entire body at developing this business and this brand. But I told myself that it's for a period of time. I'm not allowed to live like this, but I am allowed to push like this for a short window. And what came of it was actually just some of the largest growth that I've seen. That like if there was a conversation about replacing my income at my job, it was like, yeah, no, far exceeded the income at my job. I actually remember the first time that I had not just like five figures in a month, but like I don't know. I'll be fully transparent. I contractually closed um, $30,000 in a month and had several like $12,000 cash collected on top of all the other stuff going on, and I broke my brain. I was like, this is real. I can really do this. Like I there's a reality where like I am a business owner and I like help people, and so it shattered my reality, and so I totally get it, dude. Everything that you just explained is like, and especially so Russell actually taught me this, and I wanted to highlight it. So if your wife is listening, remind me her name.
Catherine.
Catherine. So if Catherine is listening, what I was taught by my mentor and friend Russell was you can only be as successful as your spouse will allow you to be. And I wasn't married when I learned that. I wasn't even really in like a strong relationship when I learned that. So it was like in one ear out. I was like, cool, that's for another time. Well, guess what? That time's now. And so when it came to like investing in masterminds, investing in coaching, like payments that I was very uncomfortable making in order to learn skills that I wasn't sure if they were going to pay off. I didn't know what was on the other side. And my wife just says, you have to do this, was world shattering for me. Because how many times have you heard that, like in sales, that like the biggest objection is the wife? Like, you got to close the wife before you close the husband. Like,
Right.
it's wild. And like my wife, the whole time, she was just like, yeah, you have to do this. Come on. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, it's I love that. I love that Russell told you that, dude, because that is we have that conversation a lot, and and people have, and over these last few months of being on my own, people have said, "Oh, so proud of you. This is cool." Like mentors that I looked up to my whole adult career life, and man, you've got to. And I always say, like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Catherine. Like, she, not only does she drive me in a way that I could never drive myself, but also, she's also just the biggest cheerleader, but not meaning like she just shares all my posts on social. Like, she's not that person. Like every once in a while, she asks if she can come to a networking event with me, and she went to that winery with me, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm chatting with one person and I'm just listening in the other ear, and she talks about my business better than I do. And I'm the one that does it. And
Yeah.
she I take things at face value a lot, and she doesn't. She takes things and can see the path through things and around things. So her brain, she tells me I need to keep putting her on the website as the official creative director, because most of the good ideas that Hammerhead or Your Morning Drive produces, it's because of her. She's the one that says, I'm pretty sure she's the one that told me Your Morning Drive was the name I should rebrand to. Because we were just sitting on the couch throwing names at the wall, and she was just like, Your Morning Drive sounds cool, what do you think of that? So anyway, she's just pushed me in ways I never thought I could be pushed, but not aggressively, but aggressive enough, just the right amount to light that fire, so that I didn't quit my job and then play video games for the first 2 weeks, because I need a break before I start pursuing my job. I didn't take any time, dude. I went out of town that weekend on a trip that me and my brother had planned already, and I went out of town. I just saw that as the reset button. I flew back to Atlanta that Monday morning. Boom, went networking at 7 a.m. at that first event I could, and just hit the ground running. And that's all from her. She pushed it, and dude, I'm just so thankful. I mean, I hope
Yeah,
she's
you
listening to
literally
this.
said, sorry, I was gonna say, like literally at the beginning, you were like, yeah, she's my biggest drive, like my biggest driver. I was like, oh, so she's your morning drive to you.
Ah, wow, that
I don't know if
is
that's too cheesy.
that is not too cheesy. That is quite literally. I'm gonna have to write that down, actually, because that's really good. That's good stuff, dude. So if she hears
Yeah.
this, she's gonna be like, "That's where it came from. It was Jimmy that said it."
Bingo.
Shouts to Jimmy.
Put me as your creative director now. All my good
Hey,
ideas.
well, she's she's creative too, man, in ways that I didn't even realize. I mean, she teaches second grade, and I mean, she's sometimes it's, even if you just sometimes it blows me away how creative she is because she's got to figure out how to get this information into the mind of a 7-year-old, and it's like
Yeah.
seeing the presentations and lesson plans that she develops in Canva. She designs everything in Canva. And sometimes I pop into some of her files just to see what she creates. And I'm like, golly, man, some of this stuff is like she should be hired to do this stuff. So maybe one day when Hammerhead is in the place where I can hire a full-time employee, it'd be great if I could hire my wife and we run this thing full-time together. But she's also a teacher, which means that she also gets a pension. So maybe we'll just let her do that. And she'll help Hammerhead on the side when she's off in the summers.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's crazy how true that expression that Russell told you is. It's quite literally the truth.
Yeah. I didn't know it. I didn't know it until I heard it. When I had the permission to move freely and the full trust from her that not only like not only spending money here or not spending per se, investing, right? Oh, not only investing money here was a good decision, but also leaving stable income was a good decision. I was like, you're either delusional or you really trust me, or maybe both. Um, but it was awesome, dude. I remember it. I remember it plain as day because we were on the way to what is it, the we were on the way to the Renaissance Festival, and the baby was asleep in the car, and I was like, hey, I was just on a sales call, here's the recording, will you watch this and tell me what you think? And she listened to the entire recording of the sales call I had with my coach and the owner of the mastermind. And she like gets off, she like shuts the phone off, and she's like, okay, so you have to do this. And that's when I was like, oh, thank God. So, dude, it's crazy. Just
Yeah.
crazy,
Shouts
crazy
to the
stuff.
wives. Shouts to the
Um,
wives.
Bingo. So, Logan, unfortunately, we're getting down to the bottom of the iced coffee. And this isn't usually the metric on how I run my podcast, but it is today because I'm going to have to go get more coffee. And eventually, I think both you and I are going to have to get back to like the real world and actually, I don't know, go like help people and build stuff and market products and services and impact lives, like the actual stuff that we're talking about right now. But before we end cap today, we talked about so much stuff. We talked about your health. We talked about my health. We talked about our businesses, our wives, our relationships, just like so much incredible stuff. I'd be remiss if someone listened and they weren't like Logan's the man. Then they're crazy and delusional themselves. But if someone wanted to get in contact with you and like I don't know, just start a conversation with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
This is ballsy, man, but I had a guest on my podcast a few days ago, and at the end of it, he plugged himself in a way that I hadn't thought of. But I mean, his like you and I, his income is not guaranteed, and it's just I don't know. It was powerful to me, so I'm gonna do it for the first time. The best way to get in contact with me, Jimmy, is my cell phone number. It's
Oh, you're gonna do it?
770-990-2816. I treat my phone, my messages like a to-do list. So if I get a text and I can't read it, I will leave it unread until I can read it. And I don't blow people off. If I can't help you, I'll find you someone that can help you. But I am always down for a conversation. If for some reason texting is too informal for you, you can visit my website. It's hammerheadcreations.com. Of course, my email, Logan at hammerheadcreations.com. I'm very active on Instagram and Facebook. Of course, Logan Lewis, and you'll know it's me because you'll see a logo for something as my Facebook header. I change it here and there, but I think right now it's Hammerhead. It could be your morning drive tomorrow, but if you see a bunch of logos, it's probably me. And then Instagram is Logan A. Lewis. And yeah, if you want to get in touch, if you want to chat, or if you want to talk about your health journey or things that inspire you anything, give me a shout.
Yeah. That's so. I literally, and I'll tell people this too, because sometimes there's people who they'll. There's this concept of chase or be chased, right? And sometimes people will want something from me, or sometimes I'll want something from other people. But on either side of that equation, I always tell them like, if we're serious about it, we're texting. If you hand me your business card, like you might as well be telling me that like either you're not serious or like I'm or like whatever. But like if we're serious about something, we're texting about it. I don't even know if I like mentioned that to you or not, but like we started texting immediately after our first coffee conversation because I was like, I need to know this guy. We need to be doing stuff together. So we just got each other's phone numbers and just that's my entire philosophy is like it's it's not real until we're texting about it. So, dude, that's wild. I hope all the robot internet scanners don't pick up that phone number and just start blasting you.
Buddy, I get enough of those freaking calls a day that I probably wouldn't even be phased by it. But I love I want to hit on that real quick before we go. That I love that thought because as you were saying that, I thought back to maybe the last 2 weeks and just thought, excluding vacation, so maybe the last 3 weeks, about all the conversations I've had with people and how many of those we exchanged either an email address or a business card, or someone just said, here's my phone number. And I'm thinking of the ones where I did get their phone number, and I'm thinking about how those have gone somewhere and the business cards have not. And that could be a soapbox in and of itself. I feel similarly about the word networking in that regard. I think it could be so hokey and cheesy and lame with the here's my card, here's your card. That never goes anywhere. So I won't rant about that today, Jimmy, but we'll talk about that another time. So it rings true.
Is that your
it's
humble
not
way
serious,
of
we're not
saying
texting.
that there's going to be? Yeah, was that your humble way of saying that we're going to have an episode 2?
I would love to have an episode 2. In fact, I'd love to then flip the script on you and have you in here, and we just kind of treat that as the
Deal.
part 2.
Deal. Dude, I'm actually bummed. Yeah, I'm bummed that I would flip the camera to show you, but like this side of the office is like polished and ready to be shot on an episode, and this side is like a whiteboard and some like tools and computers and wires and stuff. And so eventually I want to have a similar setup to what you have, where it's like I've got the dual microphones set up, the cameras over here, we're facing in to us so we could sit across from each other and actually talk. So I'm a little jealous of your setup right now. I just know that like eventually I'll get the other half of this office ready to roll. But definitely, man, like yeah, let me know date, time, and place here at the end of March, and I'm there.
Yeah, man, I'd love to have you. It'd be great. And ironically enough, don't be too jealous because I want to get rid of this setup that I have as soon as possible. And it's not because I don't love it, because these chairs behind me are quite comfortable and they're great podcasting chairs. But I've just learned that, I'm at home right now, and I'm sure you are too. And you have the element of pets and kids. We have neither. And inviting strangers to your home is great until you invite the mayor of the city that you live in to your home, and the night before your wife is freaking out because she's like, I gotta polish every corner, every counter, every baseboard. The mayor is coming over. And luckily he was super kind, very nice guy, very real guy, as most mayors are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at that moment I was like, she's right. I got to get a space of my own. So maybe next time we chat, we won't be at my home. We will be in a podcast studio, office, something that I'm trying to figure out as we speak. So stay tuned on that.
Love it. Okay. Well, Logan, this has been incredible. I'm super happy with the conversation here today. I love that people are going to get the right message here. I think that it's going to positively benefit, dude, I literally said it again, positively benefit and impact a lot of people. I've had an awesome time. I hope you've also had an awesome time. So thanks so much for coming on, and everyone go check out Logan, go hit up all his socials. And obviously if you've got any questions, reach out to him. If you got any questions for me, reach out to me. You've got all of my socials here as well. And so thanks so much everybody for listening. Have an incredible day. We'll catch you guys on the next episode of Better Humans.